This is fish. Not salted, not frozen, not sealed in mylar, just fish, dried until it registers a 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. Iron sits at a 4. For over 6 centuries, Japanese samurai carried this in their belts. They shaved it with a blade designed for nothing else, dissolved the shavings in boiling water, had a complete protein meal in under 3 minutes that sustained them through a full day of combat. Modern protein powder costs $40 a bag and lasts 2 years. Katsuobushi costs about the same, lasts just as long.
Was engineered by Japanese fishermen over 1,300 years ago, before the concept of protein was even named. Your bug-out bag would have gotten you laughed out of the Sengoku camp. 15th century Japan. The era translates, literally, as the Warring States period. It earned that name by being exactly what it sounds like. From 1467 to 1615, Japan's regional lords, the daimyo, fought each other in near constant warfare. Not skirmishes, full campaigns, tens of thousands of soldiers moving across difficult terrain for months at a time. Mountains, forests, river crossings, fortified positions that had to be held or taken.
Armies that had to carry everything they needed because there was no fixed supply chain following them through the field. What you could carry, you ate. What you couldn't carry, you didn't. And if your army ran out of food before the enemy's army did, you lost. Not on the battlefield, in camp, before the first sword was drawn. The ashigaru, the foot soldiers who made up the bulk of every Sengoku army, were issued roughly 1,080 cubic centimeters of rice grain per day, enough to produce about 600 calories of plain boiled rice. That keeps a man walking. It does not keep a man fighting. Samurai commanders needed dramatically more calories, more protein, faster recovery between engagements, and they needed it in a form that could travel with them for weeks without spoiling, without drawing rats or insects to the supply tent. They found it in a stick of fish the size of their fist. In Japanese, the word katsu means to win. It is the same syllable that begins katsuo, skipjack tuna. When you take that tuna through a 6-month production process and reduce it to its densest, hardest, most concentrated form, you get Katsuobushi, a word Japanese warriors heard as a direct homonym for winning warrior. Japan didn't stumble into this. They engineered it. From the 1500s onward, Katsuobushi was carried into battle as 2 things simultaneously: a field ration and a talisman. Before major engagements, commanders distributed blocks to their men. Carrying one meant you intended to win. Eating it meant you were feeding on victory itself. The ritual and the nutrition were inseparable. Oda Nobunaga, the most powerful warlord of the Sengoku period, the man who came closer than anyone to unifying Japan before his assassination in 1582, is documented distributing Katsuobushi before his most decisive engagements. He was not a superstitious man. He was the most ruthlessly pragmatic military commander of his era. He used it because it worked. An army that believes it is eating victory fights differently. The psychological edge was real. The nutritional edge was more real. A skipjack tuna arrives fresh from the ocean. It is filleted into 4 sections, 2 thick loins from the dorsal side, 2 thinner cuts from the belly. The belly portions are trimmed away entirely. Fat is the enemy of long-term preservation. Every gram of fat that remains is a future point of failure, a place where bacteria can establish and ruin months of work. The fillets are simmered just below boiling for approximately 90 minutes. This sets the protein structure and begins the dehydration process from the inside out. At this stage, the fish looks unremarkable, pale, firm, ordinary. Then the smoking begins. Over burning oak, the fillets are hot smoked in sessions lasting between 1 and 6 hours each, 10 to 15 times, spread across a full month of production. Each session pulls out more moisture. Each session hardens the surface layer further.
By the end of the smoking phase, the fillets have turned the color of dark wood. You can knock one against a table and hear a sound like bone on stone. They are still not done.
This is the part that sounds impossible. It isn't. The smoked block is inoculated with a mold, specifically Aspergillus glaucus, a fungus that Japanese producers have been cultivating for this exact purpose for centuries. The mold is applied to the surface, and the block is sealed in a humidity-controlled room for 2 weeks. As the mold grows, it produces enzymes that break down residual surface fats. It draws moisture out from the interior of the block through osmotic pressure, and it converts proteins into free amino acids, specifically isonosinic acid, one of the most potent natural sources of umami flavor on Earth. After 2 weeks, the mold is scraped off.
The block is sun-dried. Then the mold is applied again. This cycle, inoculate, grow, scrape, dry, is repeated 3 to 4 times. Each cycle lasts 2 weeks. Each cycle makes the block harder, denser, and more concentrated. A block that completes more than 3 mold cycles earns the designation hon-kare-bushi, the highest grade, the one samurai carry to war. The final product weighs less than 20% of what the original fish weighed. Its protein content has risen to 77% by weight. 100 grams contains 81 grams of protein, which is 162% of the daily recommended intake.
In something that fits in a closed fist, requires no refrigeration, remains stable for years. Total production time, 6 months minimum. If you're doing the math on what that means on the battlefield, here it is. A samurai could carry enough Katsuobushi in a single belt pouch to supplement his rice ration for weeks. The block did not rot. It did not attract insects. It did not require fire to prepare, though boiling water was enough to unlock its full nutritional profile. It was, by every practical metric of a military campaign, the most efficient portable food ever produced by any civilization before refrigeration. The Mongols had borts.
Japan had this. A samurai on campaign carried a whole block. When he needed to eat beyond his rice ration, he used a Katsuobushi kezuriki, a small wooden box with an inverted blade set into the top surface. He ran the block across the blade and produced paper-thin shavings in under 60 seconds. Those shavings dissolved instantly in boiling water. The resulting broth is dashi, the base of Japanese cuisine, then and now. It acts on the brain in ways that plain rice simply does not. Inosinic acid activates umami receptors in the central nervous system. Those receptors signal the presence of complex nutrition. The brain registers this as a meal, not a snack. Combined with the protein load, this meant a soldier who had eaten Katsuobushi broth was processing information and recovering muscle faster than one who had eaten the same calories in plain grain. Commanders who controlled Katsuobushi supply chains had a logistics advantage invisible to their enemies. The army that ran out first didn't just go hungry, it degraded. Slower decisions, weaker grip strength, soldiers whose bodies had begun consuming their own muscle tissue for energy. By the time the armies met in the field, part of the outcome had already been decided in the supply tent weeks before the battle. The daimyo who understood this treated their Katsuobushi stocks the same way they treated their weapons. You counted them before every campaign. You never let your enemy know how much you had. Today, real hon-kare-bushi runs between $40 and $80 per block at specialty suppliers in Japan and the United States. At the high end of the Japanese culinary market, more. The pre-shaved flakes in plastic bags at the grocery store have been smoked. They have not been mold-fermented. They are to real Katsuobushi what instant coffee is to a single origin pour-over. Same name on the package, different product entirely. Real production still happens in Japan,
most notably in Makurazaki in Kagoshima Prefecture, where family operations have run the same 6-month process for generations. Same mold cultures, same oak, same blade. You can make it yourself. The process is documented. It requires patience more than skill. What you end up with after 6 months is a piece of fish harder than iron, 77% protein by weight, stable enough to carry for 2 years without a second thought. The modern survival industry built a multi-billion-dollar business selling freeze-dried alternatives to this problem. Japanese fishermen solved it 1,300 years ago with a tuna, some hardwood, and a specific mold. They called it Katsuobushi, the winning warrior. If you want to see the food that powered the Mongol Empire across 12 million square miles of open steppe, same impossible formula, completely different civilization. The Bortz video is right here. Subscribe if you haven't. New video every week.